If you guys remember my story about when I got to go to Israel, one of the most impactful times when I was there was when I got to go to a city called Arad. It was one of the lowest cities of Solomon. It was a fortress, and just about 2 miles off of that, we ended up walking into the wilderness. And we came across this Bedouin village. And in the village, there was some houses that were made of cinder blocks, and there was tarps for their roof. And when we came up to the city, I was amazed at how much they welcomed us, and they welcomed us in with open arms and compelled us to come into their homes. And I was just very humbled by their welcomingness, because these people had nothing, and they fed us bread and they gave us sweet tea. And I remember thinking, wow, I should probably help them, try to give them money or something to ease their burden of the way that they were living. And just so grateful of what they did for us. But I learned from our tour guide that it's actually an offense. It's actually a horrible thing in their culture to do that. And I remember just writing down in my journal how moved I was, how humbled I was that we come and live in America and we don't have that sort of humility. And so I want to go to today's passage and talk about kind of the society that Jesus lived in that day and how it continued on. You may remember David talking about this passage this past weekend, but I want to expand upon it a little bit more. And it comes from John chapter 13, starting at verse 3. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around them. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," Peter said, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath only need to wash their feet, but their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew that one was going to betray him, and that's why he had said that not everyone was clean. I was lucky enough a couple years ago to go to a Jewish synagogue and have a Seder dinner. And there they talked to us about the Last Supper, and where Jesus, although he was sitting at a tricentennial table, looked very much like an upside-down horseshoe. The first person at the table was the homeowner. And right next to them, following down the table line, was the guest of honor, and this would have been Jesus. And the person who would sit next to Jesus was known as the best friend. This is John the Apostle. People knew him as the beloved one because he literally got to recline on Jesus' chest. And so it would go all the way down the rest of the table, the disciples to the next disciple, until the last person at the table. Now, if you were the last one at the table and there wasn't a slave or somebody to wash your feet, that was their job, then it would be the last person at the table. Now, in society during their time, the feet were disgusting. It was really gross. And if you didn't have a slave, then it would be that last person at the table. And in this case, it was Peter. But Jesus did something really amazing here. He grabbed a wash basin, and even though he was the guest of honor, he lowered himself lower than the lowest position in society and said, "I'm going to wash everybody's feet, including the foot washer's feet." And this is really indicative of where we see Jesus in Hebrews. It says he rose the standard of humility to death itself on the cross. And one of the books that I've been really passionate about is Humility by Andrew Murray. And in that, I'm going to close with a prayer. And I hope that you can have this sort of prayer as being your guide today and a guide for humility as you move forward. It goes like this. "Lord, out of your great goodness, would you make known to me and take from me every kind and form and degree of pride, whether that is of my corrupt nature or that of evil spirits, and awaken in me in the deepest depths of my soul your grace and your truth that will make me capable of receiving your light." God bless you. Have a great day.